Selamat siang. Welcome to the latest news from Bali and Indonesia. This is August 9th, 2022, and my name is Bruce. And it is another beautiful day in Bali. The skies are clear, there is a gentle breeze. It is 29.1 degrees Celsius, wind speed is 13.4 kilometers per hour, and the humidity is a lovely 52%. Wow, can things get any better? Hope where you are, things are just as nice. And if you are planning on coming to Bali soon, you can look forward to some good weather and a lot of people. Wow, is it getting crowded here? Amazing. There are two main stories today. One about Kuta and crime and some good news there. And one which, well, I think it's kind of funny. Actually, I did not know this person was still in politics, but she's popping off again about Bali. It was nice to see the responses from the government, especially Pak Sandiaga Uno's, which was very funny. And there is a lot to get to today. I want to thank those of you who are commenting and letting us know what's happening when you arrive. And so please continue to do that when you come in. Leave a comment about what the situation is like. Is it busy at the airport? Are there lines? Did you have to wait a long time? What kind of documents did they ask for? In particular, were they asking you for insurance? Because that seems to be an issue with some people. Okay, let's take a look at the numbers, which are encouraging, a little better than before. National new cases, 4,425. National recoveries, 4,919. National deaths, 18. So the deaths have gone up. Bali new cases, 102, getting close to the 100 level. Maybe we'll get down below that. Bali recoveries, 161, and Bali deaths, 4. They have gone up as well, too. Curious. And I was looking at the positivity rate, and the positivity rate last week was 10%. So way over the 5% WHO recommends. But nobody seems to be worried about it. There are not many stories about COVID-19 in the news. There are stories about FMD, and that's the main story, one of the main stories, and about monkeypox. Yes, there's been some articles in the news about suspected cases of monkeypox. So far, all of them have come up negative, fortunately, but there will be testing done, apparently now at the airport. Well, and it's supposed to be non-intrusive. And so that is not a main story. This is just a heads up if you're coming into the airport. So the Bali Provincial Health Office stated that it's coordinated with the Ngurah airport to prevent entry of monkeypox into Bali. So what have they done? They've installed screening tools to detect monkeypox. According to Dr. Anom from the Bali Provincial Health Office, he said that yesterday there was an appeal letter from the Ministry of Health to assign Denpasar Class 1 KKP. And so he said the tourists from countries where there are cases of monkeypox are going to be a little more under the eye of authorities when they come in. But so far, no monkeypox cases have been detected. And so there is going to be a thermal scan, but this is not supposed to slow anybody down. Thermal scans will be at the arrival and departures doors, and there will be disinfectant carpets laid down at every exit and entry to the passenger area. Why is that there? Because of FMD, foot and mouth disease, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. And airport authorities say this is all being done for the security and safety and happiness of passengers as they come in to Bali and as they leave. Okay, first main story, and there are two segments on this, and the first one is Australia, what's happening in Australia about this, and then the second one is the response from the Indonesian authorities over what's said here. I love Australians come right out and say stuff. I guess they couldn't print the whole thing here, and I haven't done it on the thumbnail for this. Shit in the street, Pauline Hanson's wild claim over government's foot and mouth response. So Pauline Hanson, who, as I said, I wasn't aware that she was still in politics, and she has sensationally claimed Australian tourists are coming home covered in shit from Bali's cows in a bizarre rant about the government's foot and mouth response. Cattle roam the streets, cattle shit on the ground, people walk in that shit, she told Parliament the other day. Then that shit is brought back into their clothing and on their person and back into this country. And so despite warnings by department officials not to politicize the matter, the coalition and One Nation on Thursday resumed their crusade to nail Agriculture Minister Murray Watt over claims he misled the Senate over sanitizing foot mats at airports and vaccines. Okay, I have not covered that story, was not following it, but apparently this is a big thing right now, at least with One Nation and Pauline Hanson. For the second time in as many days, Senator Watt dismissed the claims. He said it is disappointing that One Nation and coalition senators continue to play politics with this issue, despite the repeated pleas from industry for them to drop their politicization on this matter. Speaking later to reporters, the minister confirmed a new task force will be established to focus on how best to prepare for a potential outbreak of FMD. Experts say the risk of the virus's incursion into Australia is around 11%, but Senator Watt said that it could rise. He said, "We've learned the lessons from the outbreak of COVID-19 and the former government's lack of preparedness to respond to it. We are determined to not make the same mistakes that they made. It's prudent to make sure that we are prepared now." The federal government has provided $1.5 million to Indonesia to assist in the purchase of over 1 million livestock vaccine doses, but with vaccine in short supply, not a single dose has hit the ground. Oh, interesting. But Senator Hanson asserted the delay was just another cog in Labor's plan to kill off cows to reduce emissions. They want to see cows and beef cattle destroyed in this nation. They want to see emissions reduced, whichever way it comes about, because it's going to make them look good. Last week, the Senate referred the government's response to a parliamentary inquiry amid criticism it should have closed the border to the popular tourist island. Industry has dismissed calls from Coalition and One Nation to close the border to Indonesia, arguing it could risk trade relations. And Greens Senator Peter Whish-Wilson slammed the opposition and One Nation for stoking fears for their own political advantage. It almost sounds like the opposition wanted some kind of foot-and-mouth outbreak so they could make political advantage out of it, he told the Senate. "I'm all for holding the government to account. The Senate is going to do that. We will look at this very closely, but do not make the situation worse." Okay. Wow, Pauline Hanson. And the government's response, and this is just one. There are so many articles about this, and I've just taken one. More and more people in the government come out and complain about this. They're very, very upset. I find it kind of humorous. You really take her seriously, but as you probably know, people in the government can be very sensitive here about what you say. And so we have Pak Sandiaga Uno here, who had the funniest response, and the governor and the vice governor and other ministers. Everybody is getting into the act announcing Pauline Hanson. And fortunately, they're making it clear that they're talking about her and not about the Australian government as a whole or the Australian people. It's this one senator, but she has really got them going. So let's take a look at what the Indonesian response to this is. Australian senator accuses cow manure scattered in Bali. Minister of Tourism angry. So Pauline Hanson, Australian senator, made unfounded claims about the spread of cattle in Bali while speaking in Parliament. She mentioned that cow dung is scattered on the streets of Bali, and Pak Sandiaga Uno took offense at that. The Australian senator is afraid that Australian citizens who come to Bali will bring back foot and mouth disease with them because it is so dirty here. Bali is different from other countries, she said. Then she said the cows in Bali are free to roam the streets. Cow dung, she said, was all over the road. Cow dung was scattered and people walked on it and carried it on their clothes, and the man came back to this country, she said vehemently. Pak Sandiaga denied the statements. He said, what an Australian senator is said is not based on fact. I expressly and straightforwardly say never insult Bali, the icon and heart of Indonesia's tourism. Pak Sandiaga is defending Bali. Pak Sandiaga said Bali has now risen. Job opportunities in Bali are wide open. He asked Pauline not to disturb the peace and economic recovery of Bali with untrue words. Oh yeah. FYI, Bali is not a country. It must not have been an IPS child. Next time, check it on Google first. Thank you, Suksma. He said, okay, IPS. He's saying you must not have taken social studies as a student because, well, this is an island, not a country. And I know a lot of people say this, and well, it just shows when they say, wow, I'm moving to another country, I'm moving to Bali. Hello, we're not a country. Indonesia's the country. Australian Senator Pauline Hanson's complaint about the amount of cow dung on the streets in Bali has angered the Bali provincial government as well. The head of Bali Province Agriculture and Food Security Service, Iwayan Sunada, asked the Australian senator to show the location of the cow dung in question, not to indulge in social media. He said, currently in Bali, there are no more wild cattle roaming the streets. He said, cattle are kept in cages and farmed. All are maintained in cages, he said, so the dirt is not haphazardly scattered. She is lying. Tell her to show the place that she means, he said. He added that since PMK came to Bali, the party was very detailed and went down to check the existence of cows kept by the community, including anticipating that there are no wild cows. We are working hard to handle PMK in Bali. If you say that Bali is the cause of FMD transmission in Australia, that's a lie, not true. We cage the cows properly. The manure is processed into organic fertilizer. Meanwhile, the chairman of Commission 2 of Bali's DPRD, Ida Gede Komang Kresnabudi, said that Senator Pauline Hanson's chatter was excessive. Exaggerated, not in accordance with the fact. In the past there might have been, now there are no more wild cows with scattered dung, he said. However, Krishnabudi still asked relevant agencies in the Bali provincial government to conduct investigations related to Pauline Hanson's march. Think of this as criticism that has become a vitamin for us, he said. If there are wild cows, we will deal with them. Later, I will try to call the head of the agriculture department. Things get weirder and weirder. Okay, I have not seen any wild cows walking down the streets of Singaraja. Okay, and the second major story is about crime in Kuta. And so first we're going to look at what the Bendesa has to say. Then we're going to look at a follow-up story based on a viral video that went out about a group of people trying to steal a phone. What about crime in Bali? If you read social media, you will see all sorts of complaints about crime, about bag snatchings, muggings, rip-offs of one kind or another. Well, here's an article. Kuta crime, Bendesa asks police to take action. Recent crimes, according to this article, have been rampant in the tourist destination of Kuta. And due to this condition, the Bendesa Adat Kuta Iwayan Wasista, talked about him before, hopes that the police, especially the Bali police, will act to deal with this troubling issue. He said that criminal incidents due to robbery and illegal money changes have started to occur recently in Kuta. They've been occurring as long as I've been here. This makes the public and tourists restless and disturbs the tourism conditions of Kuta and Bali in general. If this continues, he said, it will damage the tourism sector and complicate economic recovery. He said the police, specifically the Bali police, I beg you to come to Kuta because robbery and fraud and money changing are very rampant. Please help us. Pakwasista said he hopes that police will intensify patrols at night. And he said road conditions in Kuta are currently relatively quiet. And so this is used by criminals. And you know that if you listen to social media or you watch these videos, and you'll hear me mention this, people driving down these roads really late at night, coming home at 2 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock at night, whatever, and they're attacked. Unfortunate, but true. Apart from the regional police, he said, We also have patrols done by traditional villages. However, this is certainly not optimal and requires the involvement of the police as well. Regarding the illegal money changers, Pakwasista underlined that his party in the traditional village never prohibited people from opening a money changer business, but he wants them to follow the rules and complete the applicable permits. It's been said that despite repeated raids, money changer business actors actually returned to action, even tearing up the stickers that explain that the money changer was illegal. Wow, okay, people are pretty bold, Pakwasista said, especially for the money changers who tore off the stickers that was installed. Of course, we expect the Bali police to intervene, so please follow up with the legal process. That includes protection for customers, he stressed. Okay, so the Bendesa says he wants the police to help and that he is going to mobilize people now. But so then this viral video comes out, and so even more action is happening. Viral video action of a group of people trying to steal mobile phones owned by Caucasians. Kuta traditional village lowers personnel. Responding to a viral video on Instagram, there was an attempt by a group of youths to take the cell phone of a foreign tourist in Kuta. So the Kuta traditional village is conducting surveillance and night patrols as they did just the other day on Saturday. And so you have all of the local DESA security personnel out in the streets. And on Saturday, they were led directly by the Bendesa of Kuta Wayan Wasista. And the patrol also targeted money changers, as I mentioned in the previous segment. About the viral video of the attempt to rob tourists of their phone, the Bendesa said, "We in the traditional village feel devastated. So we are trying to help the police. In this case, we are doing night patrols. We have determined," he said, "starting tomorrow on Sunday, day before yesterday, we will carry out joint inspections in each of the banjars on standby in areas that are considered vulnerable." The vulnerable areas that Wasista meant were crowded places such as Legian Street, Poppies 1, and Kuta Beach Road. Pakwasista said, "We hope that the police can unite with the traditional village to secure the area of the traditional village of Kuta." The governor has been busy. As I talked about in the last video, the governor said he was going to focus on infrastructure right now. He's not going to worry about the airport in North Bali. Well, Governor Koster ready for groundbreaking of Gilimanuk-Mengwi toll road on 10th September 2022. The connection of land, sea, and air in Bali is part of the governor's vision for the new era of Bali. And so on the 6th, the governor chaired a groundbreaking preparation meeting for the Jagat Kerti toll road, Gilimanuk to Mengwi. The toll road is planned to be ready for groundbreaking on Saturday, the 10th of September. And at this meeting to prepare for the groundbreaking, government loves meetings here. The participants were served coffee with unsweetened arak, which is the favorite drink of the governor of Bali. Okay, interesting meeting. Coffee with unsweetened arak. I have not tried that. The governor said, "Please pray for the development of transportation infrastructure to balance and equalize economic growth between the north and the east and the south of Bali." And as you know, if you've been around the whole island or if you listen to these videos, the north is quite a bit behind the south in terms of economic growth. Partly, well, mainly because of the lack of tourism. And we don't have all those cool things like beach clubs to bring all of the cultural tourists here. And speaking about that, what has the deputy governor got to say? Watch out, Bali tourism, wrong direction. Deputy governor says, "We've been reminded, Niskala." So the deputy governor gave a speech recently, and it looked at the development of Bali tourism since the 1920s. And he said, Bali's received many no-nonsense warnings due to the mismanagement of tourism, but they are often ignored. The deputy governor said in the past, Bali was an agrarian society. Europeans arrived in 1924. The first photographs of Bali were published in European newspapers. he said. In this era, Balinese leaders and their people were not ready to face the onslaught of tourism, so there was no instrument to secure Bali at that time. As a result, tourism development took place sporadically. In the Republican era, he said, there had been several efforts to save Bali from the onslaught of new cultures, such as localizing the residency of tourists with the development of Nusa Dua area in 1973. And you look at how that worked out. Nevertheless, he said, these efforts have not been able to save Balinese culture, people, and nature from the onslaught of a valuable economy, the tourism economy, and the hundreds of trillions of rupiahs that have poured into the country because of it. In the speech on sustainable tourism that the deputy governor gave, he said Bali currently has experienced much inequality, and in fact, Balinese people have been reminded in a nostalgic manner. He said the discrepancy in question is an imbalance in behavior between religion and practice. Interesting. He said while there are many yadna in Bali, people still litter and destroy nature. They're hostile to their neighbors. They fight for equality with other villages. This is often not known or ignored by tourists who love to say, oh, the Balinese are so peaceful. Everything is harmonious. It is paradise. There's all sorts of sniping that goes on, fighting between villages, fighting within villages, especially over the issue of land. And the deputy governor is addressing those kind of things. He said, additionally, there is a regional disparity between North and South, where economically the regional original income, PAD, in northern Bali is small, not in proportion to the population. And currently, he said, there's a sector gap as well, such as the agricultural sector, where the percentage of foreign exchange contributions has decreased from 25 to 16%. And he said one of the reasons for that is 600 hectares of agricultural land that are turned into non-agricultural land every day, both hotels and settlements. This is very worrying, he said, because Bali only has 60,000 hectares of agricultural land. And yet the government continues to give people permits to build on agricultural land. Meanwhile, the deputy governor highlighted the current amount of tourism investment in Bali. 80% is held by non-Balinese. I don't want to say Bali and non-Bali, he said, but it's a fact. We've lost momentum. It's our fault we weren't able to protect Bali. And the governor brought up the two Bali bombings, Bali Bombing 1 in 2002, Bali Bombing 2 in 2005, as well as several attempts at bombings that did not happen, and said these events should be a reminder to Balinese people that we must no longer be negligent in protecting and maintaining the stability of the land of Bali. He concluded, Bali must maintain three things: its culture, its people, and its nature, so that the sustainability of tourism, which is the livelihood of many people, is maintained into the future. Like a lot of what he says here. But then you take a look and see what's happening in actuality. People are building villas left, right, and center, both Indonesians, Balinese, non-Balinese Indonesians, and foreigners. And you've got these monstrosities. The beach club down in Canggu, the new one. The theme park that is going to go up in Jembrana. And so talking about this is one thing and doing something about this is something else. Don't know what the answer is to that. Jokowi eyes to make Indonesia 7th largest economy in 2030. That's only another 8 years from now. So the president said that he is targeting Indonesia to become the world's 7th largest economy by 2030, and he said that the foundations for that have already been laid. He said the foundations to compete with other countries must be arranged and built because in the future it won't be big countries defeating small countries or rich countries beating poor countries. The battle will be fast countries beating slow countries. Pak Jokowi explained that the first foundation to be prepared is the infrastructure, and there's been a lot of work going on about infrastructure here in Bali with G20 coming up, as I talked about before. But throughout Indonesia, apparently, in the past 7 years, Indonesia has constructed more toll roads, up to 2,042 kilometers worth of toll roads, 5,500 new airport non-toll roads, 15 new ports, 18 new dams, 38 new irrigations covering an area of 1.1 million hectares. The president said the impact of the infrastructure will only be felt in the next 5 to 10 years. He said maybe we can't feel it instantly now, and it does affect the state budget, but in the future we will be getting good results from this. The second foundation, he said, is developing downstream industries. Through this, Indonesia will no longer export raw materials, but rather processed materials from mining products. And so when I was working for mining companies many, many years ago, one of the issues was that the government did not want to send out the gold and copper to be processed in other places. They wanted it processed here. And so they were holding up contracts for the government, for these companies, until they agreed. And the last foundation is the digitization of MSMEs. He stated that 65.4 million MSMEs contributed to the economic growth of up to 61%. Thus, he's optimistic that digital MSMEs could boost the Indonesian economy from currently, where it is, in the 30th position in the world, to the 7th by 2030. And he said, according to Bappenas, the National Development Planning Agency, and McKinsey, they calculate by the year 2045, Indonesia will be the 4th largest economy in the world. Here's something interesting. Luhut rebuts issue that Indonesia is controlled by China. The coordinator minister for maritime affairs and investment, Pak Luhut, denied issues that Indonesia is controlled by China. He asserted that Indonesia is not too dependent on China now, given that the declining trade deficit every year. He said, how can China control us? Our trade deficit with China used to be $27 billion. Then it declined to $17 billion. In 2021, he said, the trade deficit was around $2 billion. And this year, as of the previous quarter, there was a surplus of $500 million. Luhut estimates that there may be a surplus of more than $1 billion this year. So he said, I'm confused when someone says that we are controlled by China. Does this person who says this know about numbers? He said, I'm a soldier, but because I'm briefed every day by young people in the office, I understand these numbers. We are on the right track. Indonesia, he went on, could be in this current condition because President Jokowi has made the right decisions. Pak Luhut also claimed that the defense minister, Prabowo, who was Jokowi's rival in the presidential elections in the past, even he admitted that Pak Jokowi was on the right track. He said, I didn't agree with these things, but after Pak Jokowi explained them to me, I took my hat off to Pak Jokowi, to President Jokowi. Okay, so we're not controlled by China. Okay, and finally, a decision on Komodo. Yes, so this is now official. Mooted Komodo Island entry fee hike postponed until 2023. Okay, I talked about this the other day, but it is now official. The president has even gotten involved in this. Head of East Nusa Tenggara Tourism Agency, Zetsoni Libing, said on Monday that it officially is postponed, the increase in the entry fee to Komodo Island and Padar Island. He said the governor of NTT, Pak Victor, talked about before, has decided to postpone it until the end of this year or December 31st. According to Libing, the provincial government will disseminate this plan in depth to every stakeholder. The chairman of the Regional Representative Council of the Indonesian Youth National Committee of West Manggarai Regency, Sergius Tridedi, said he was happy with the policy. He welcomed it, but he said the move was not immediately accepted as something pleasant for the local people. He said it was far more important for the community that the policy was not a matter of delay, but rather consideration of the fate of tourism if the tariff increase is applied in January. Reports recently suggested that the announcement of the increased tariff was followed by tourist cancellations. Sergius said, from here we can determine that the local government makes policies with studies that are not yet comprehensive and constructive. Sergius emphasized that the government should instead conduct research, especially regarding the economic accessibility of tourists, whether they are dominated by upper-class tourists or lower middle-class tourists. Sergius concluded the government should not only pursue profit goals without understanding the real conditions of the tourist. And so you can go to Komodo for the rest of the year and pay the old fees. And will they actually be increased when January comes? January is still a long way off, and who knows what's going to happen. As I say lots of times, you just have to wait and see. And some good news on the tourism front. 5.6 million passengers landed at Bali's Ngurah Airport. So, Ngurah Airport over the last 7 months has been one of the busiest airports in the country with 5.6 million passengers. This is a combination of domestic and international passengers. According to the general manager for the airport, during July there was 1,315,200 passengers in total, or an increase of 18% from the previous month, June. For international traffic, there were 518,620 passengers during July, an increase of 42% over the previous month. And there were 796,580 domestic travelers, an increase of 7% over June. So the total number of passengers for the January to July period is 5,612,777 people, and compared to the same period in 2021, that is an increase of 220%. And the general manager said there's 2 additional international connections made during July. The Philippine Air Asia to Manila, which I discussed, and the Korean Air to Incheon, which I also discussed. And new domestic route, the Air Asia to Balikpapan, which I also discussed. Oh, I discuss lots of these things. Currently, Ngurah Airport serves 21 domestic routes and 21 international routes overall, serving flights to 12 countries by 23 airlines. And during the month of July, the domestic route with the highest number of passengers, Jakarta, so we had 451,791 passengers coming in from Jakarta. Surabaya, we had 115,716 from there. And Makassar, we had 49,001 passengers coming in from Makassar. Internationally, number 1 was Australia, of course. That was 195,079 passengers. Singapore, 128,283. And Malaysia, 69,388. So, good news. And speaking of travel, more young Indonesian tourists visiting domestic destinations. After the peak of the coronavirus pandemic, the younger generation tends to look for vacation destinations that are closer to home. And this has boosted the popularity of domestic tourist destinations, according to the senior public relations manager of Ticket.com. Because of the pandemic, people like to go on holidays close to home, she said. More people are on staycations. Even after the pandemic, Bali is still the favorite tourist destination for the millennial generation. Apart from Bali, other cities that see increasing tourist visits are Bandung, Jogja, and Belitung. I've never been in Belitung. And apparently 2 of the 5 super priority tourism destinations prepared by the government, Mandalika and Labuan Bajo. In tourist spots, these young tourists are not only on vacation, but they dedicate their time to their hobbies, such as cycling and meditating. Public policy and government relations of TikTok, Indonesia, said that his company also saw that Indonesians, especially the younger generation, often create unique tourism content, such as revealing hidden gems. Therefore, he said it's not surprising that in the end, many new tourist destinations in the country have been revealed this way and eventually become people's choice for vacations. How many clickbait titles have you seen? Hidden place, nobody knows about this. How come I'm the only person that knows? Give me a break. You're not the only person that knows. You're the only person that's put it on Instagram or YouTube. And Bule's behaving badly. Now, this is definitely behaving badly. So 3 foreign nationals, a cocaine network arrested. And I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago when they were first arrested, but the article said the police weren't releasing any information because it was currently undergoing investigation. Well, the news is out this weekend. The Bali Provincial National Narcotics Agency, BNNP, revealed that 3 narcotics suspects were arrested last Thursday, and they were coke dealers. 3 foreigners, one from England, one from Brazil, and one from Mexico. According to BNNP, the three suspects are part of an international network of suppliers of 80% of the cocaine-type narcotics in Seminyak, Badung, and Canggu. Up until now, BNNP investigators are still developing to find out how the suspects brought cocaine to Bali. At the time of their arrest, the Bali BNNP eradication team seized 800 grams of cocaine. In addition, officers also confiscated hashish and marijuana, so total evidence of narcotics is 1 kilogram. The head of Bali BNNP said during a press conference on Friday that his team had received information about cocaine trafficking in Bali since 2021. The three foreign suspects were arrested last month at 3 locations in the Kuta area. The first arrested was the Englishman, and he was arrested in Jalan Raya Tumbak Bayu. According to this, he acts as a dealer. From the suspect's hands, evidence was secured by 30 plastic clips containing cocaine, weighing 443.56 grams. The second suspect, from Rio de Janeiro, the officers confiscated 194.81 grams from him, additionally 9.26 grams of hash and 1.52 grams of dried marijuana. And the final suspect was arrested in, where else, Canggu, and police seized cocaine weighing 206.22 grams, ecstasy 34.05 grams, and dried marijuana 1 gram. Not much pot. And he's been in Bali apparently since 2012. The other 2 suspects have only been in Bali for 1 or 2 years. The head of the BNNP here said that with the disclosure of this case, we hope to suppress the circulation of cocaine in Bali. He admitted that he'd identified the existence of cocaine trafficking, especially in the Canggu and Seminyak areas. This firm action, he said, is part of the efforts of BNNP and other agencies to show the world that Bali is not heaven. Narcotics abuser. Don't expect to come on tour in Bali using narcotics arbitrarily. Penalties for these people range from a minimum of 5 years in prison to a maximum of the death penalty. Meanwhile, the head of the Bali NNP, Brigadier General Gede Sugiyanyar, said that the disclosure of the cocaine case showed that the circulation of illicit goods produced in Latin America has arrived in Bali. Currently, cocaine has become a narcotic crime. This type of narcotics is usually used by Caucasians or people with money. The price of 1 gram is around 4 million to 5 million rupiahs. These items are usually produced in Latin America. Because of the recent situation, the agency has collaborated with several countries in Latin America. They are trying to prevent illegal goods from entering Indonesia and especially Bali. He said, it turns out in Bali there is a demand for cocaine. The handling of drug cases cannot be done alone. We must work together across agencies, across countries, and across all levels of society. So if you're tempted to be doing a little coke, I would think twice about it. Penalties are severe in Indonesia. Whoa, okay, that is it. And I've cut out about 9 different segments that I really wanted to talk about. There's a lot of stuff going on, especially at the national level, which is very interesting, especially if you live here. I know if you're a tourist and you're just coming in for some sun, sand, and sex, that kind of stuff's not really interesting for you. But for those of us that live here or are interested in Indonesian culture, politics, religion, etc. There's some interesting things going on at the national level and some things going on at the international level impacting us. And I'm just not going to get to it. I'm not going to do these 45-minute videos anymore. So I'm reconsidering the twice a week. Might be better to do 3 times a week. I don't know. 3 times and shorter than the twice and longer, because this keeps expanding. Who knows? Okay, a cooking video was out on Sunday, and wow, chumi, and it was really good. You can take a look at it up here if you have not looked at my wife's new channel. It's called Dapur Suhana, and check out the chumi. Wow, that was terrific. Okay, if you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. And if you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. It's helpful and I appreciate it. Thanks for viewing. Be kind to someone today. Stay safe. And I will see you on Friday, if not before.